point between our feet. Okay, so if we go into a cross-legged position now. If we have right leg in front and left leg behind, just so that if we all do the same thing, we've got one less thing to think about. Your feet come halfway up the shins, if you can. The Nadra point is still between the feet. So just connect with it. It knows where it is. So you can just intend if you need to. Okay, so place hands on the floor, making contact with the floor, but we're not leaning forward yet. We're taking a nice deep in-breath, and then on the exhale, we're moving forward from the tailbone area, and we're concentrating on our new breathing technique. So inhale, let's slide the hands forward on the exhale, and stay there for a few moments, and you can come up before I say so, but I'll tell the group when to come up as well. Coming up on the inhale. Staying there for a while. Bringing our focus back onto the breathing. Make contact with the floor with our hands, breathing in. On the exhale, slide forward, breathing in. Coming up on the inhale. Refocusing on the breathing. Making contact with the floor, preparing to go forward again. Inhale, moving forward on the exhale. Come up when you're ready. Making contact with the breathing again. Okay, so swapping legs now. Let's have left in front. Making contact with the floor. Inhale, and on the exhale, slide forward. Keep with the breathing, contracting on the inhale, expanding on the exhale. Coming up when you're ready. Gathering ourselves for a minute. Making contact with the floor. Inhale and slide forward on the exhale. Breathing in and come up on the inhale. Was that the first one on that side? Second one on that side. It's got one more. Breathing in and sliding forward. Come up when you're ready. Breathing in, keeping a focus on the breathing technique. If you need to let your legs release now, let them do so. Sit there quietly. Bring your attention back to your breathing. Contracting into the fold and expanding. Gently rolling onto our fronts. We have our palms by our shoulders. Remember, the intention is leading from the back and supporting with our arms. Just wait a minute. You can rest your foreheads on the floor and focus on your breathing while I'm speaking. If you remember with this one and it's not yet, you come up on the inhale, rest on the exhale, and then listen to your back, and if your back is able to, then allow your arms to then push a little bit in synchronization with the stretch that your back wants to do. The back comes first. Listen to your back, okay? So, breathing in, coming up, Hold for a little while on the out breath. If you can extend the stretch further, breathe in again. And breathe there for a while. Remember, the focus is in the Nadra point. And releasing when you're ready on the exhale, gracefully coming back down. Stay there and gather yourself for a bit. Forehead on the floor. Preparing to come up on the next inhale and repeat the movement on the inhale. Extend the stretch on your next inhale if you can and stay there for a while, as long as comfortable for you. Come down when you're ready and rest with your forehead on the floor. And while you're there with your forehead on the floor, let's really bring our focus back to the breathing. So imagine the lotus petals contracting on the inhale, so they're totally in line with your central vertical current up and down the body, and then expand out the wings on the exhale. Let's just try that for a little while, bring ourselves back. Prepare to move on the next inhale and repeat the movement. Inhale and come up. Coming down when you're ready and rest there for a while. Bring your attention back to the breathing. It's okay. Okay, gently rolling onto the back. Real careful and try and keep your focus on the breathing even though we're moving and doing practical things. Okay. Okay, so just breathing. We'll wait for people just to get settled and sort out the furniture or anything else they need to do, but Try and keep the focus in the room if you're doing that. And prepare to move, and on the inhale, bringing the legs up. Exhale and straighten them so they're parallel with the floor, supporting your back with your hands. Inhale, bringing your knees to your forehead if you're ready for that. Exhale, stretching the feet over the head if you're ready for that. Inhale, the knees back to the forehead if you're ready for that. Exhale, the feet back over the head if you're at this point. If not, you're just resting and breathing in the point where you're at your maximum extension. Bring the knees up to the forehead on the inhale and back over to the floor on the exhale, and rest there and breathing. Now connect with the nadra point between your feet, and then you're picturing the contraction and the expansion with your breath. Bring your knees back to your forehead on the inhale. And exhale down, real gentle, supporting your back all the way with your hands. You can rest for a while. You might want to have your knees up so that you're pressing your back a little bit into the ground, just to stretch the back out again as a little opposite movement. I'm going to breathe here for a little while. Inhale and come up. Exhale, straighten the legs so they're parallel with the floor. Inhale, the knees to the forehead. Exhale, your feet to the floor. Inhale, your knees to your forehead. Exhale, your knees to the floor. Inhale, your knees to the forehead. Exhale to the floor. And when you're at your maximum extension, you just stay there for a while, breathing. Bring your focus back to the nadra point between your feet. Doing the folding breath on the inhale and the expansion breath on the exhale. Bringing the knees back on the inhale and folding back down to the floor on the exhale. Bringing your feet flat to the floor. Press your lower back gently into the floor to give a little stretch. And we're going to breathe here for a little while. Remember with this one, you just take it to the point you can do. If you can just lift your legs off the floor supporting, then that's as far as you can go, and that's fine. I'm just speaking the whole technique for those that are doing the whole of it. Okay, but don't strain, and leave enough spare frequency in your system so you can focus on the breathing. Don't use up all your energy in the movement. Okay, right, so on the inhale, lifting your legs up. Exhale, straighten your legs. Inhale your knees to the forehead. Exhale your feet to the floor. Inhale to the forehead. Exhale to the floor. Inhale to the forehead. Exhale to the floor, and stay there in your maximum extension, breathing the breathing technique that we're doing. And inhale, and bring your knees to your forehead on the inhale, and your feet to the floor on the exhale. Feet flat into the floor, lower back into the floor. Lovingly inform your lower back that it can stretch out. Lovingly inform your shoulders that it can stretch out. And keep your focus on the Nihadra point, and we're just going to breathe there for a little while. Roll over on one side and then push gently up, real gentle. Sing the lotus balls into the Biveka fold on the in-breath. Expanding on the out-breath. Lost my glasses here. 4, 5, 6. Oh. Okay, this one, okay. Let's just get used to sitting upright. You can put your legs out in front of you. And let's get used to breathing the breath in this position before we go any further. Okay, preparing for the next movement now. Put your hands behind your bum, a little bit further out than your bum, so a little bit wider than your bum. Make sure there's enough room behind you for you to lean back. Okay, now with this one, and we're not moving yet, just to remind you of a few things. The posture is more difficult if you have your feet together, and easier if your feet are slightly apart. So can you gauge where you are with this, please? The movement is led from the hips, and the power of the movement comes from the abdominals. And if you think of the movement as a lifting one, when you get as high as you can, try and straighten the body so that the body is parallel to the floor. If you're strong in this movement, you can tilt your head back, but you don't have to. And if you're super strong, like the dude in the picture, you can put your feet flat on the floor, like in the picture if you remember. But remember to leave enough frequency so that you can concentrate on the breathing. Okay? So, I just need to check when we move, what breath. Hang on a minute. Okay. We inhale and we move on the exhale. Okay? The exhale actually provides a bit of thrust for the movement. It sort of pushes you up a little bit. So be aware of that. The breath actually helps you get into the movement. I'm going to have to put the microphone down for this one. Okay? You just stay there for a couple of seconds, even if you just do one breath like it, and then come back down. Don't overdo it with this one. Alright, okay, off you go. Come down when you're ready on the exhale. Recover for a bit. I'll inform you when we can all move together. Let's just all recover for a bit. So in a minute, you will inhale and push up on the exhale. Okay, I'm going to put the microphone down. So inhale. Keeping your back straight as you come down. Try and keep your back straight when you're sitting up, lifting up a little bit from the hips. Just give it a couple more seconds. We've got time, okay? Preparing for the movement, inhale. You might want to shake your legs a bit. Okay. So just sit comfortably in whatever position is most comfortable for you. We're just going to gather ourselves and then we'll move on to the next one in a second. Okay, if you remember from this morning, there are various leg positions for this one. If you get into the one that you're comfortable in, whatever one it is, whether it's a kneeling one or the variations of the cross-legged, there's 2 or 3 variations. It was discussed this morning. If you weren't here this morning, you can simply cross your legs if you're not sure what to do. Okay, right, so if we all have our left leg on top. If you're doing the kneeling position, you don't need to worry about that, obviously. Okay, so our left leg's on top, so when we're ready to do the movement, we're going to be lifting our right arm, and the left arm is going to come to meet it, okay? And what we do is we lift our right arm on the inhale, and on the exhale we bring the left arm to meet it. Then we inhale, and then on the exhale, if you're going to extend the posture further, you then bend forward on the exhale. I'm going to need to put the microphone down for this one as well, okay? So when you're ready, inhale. Remember to bring your focus to the breathing again now, so the point between your feet, contracting the lotus in on the in-breath and expanding it out on the out-breath. And we're going to stay here for a little while. Come up on the inhale. I feel to swap over the legs. I think if we do 3 like that, and then we're going to get really out of balance. So I think we need to swap legs now. So swap over your legs. So this time, the right leg's on top. So we're going to go left, right, left, right, left, right. You see what I mean? Okay, center again, at the Nadra point. This time we're lifting our left arm and we're bringing the right arm up to meet it. Remembering we're lifting on the inhale, the left arm. Okay, ready then, inhale. Stay there for as long as it's comfortable for you. You can stay there, keeping breathing, or you can come out and keep breathing. It's up to you. If you're still in the movement, prepare to come out of it now. Left leg on top of right leg now again. Someone help me keep count, please. That's not my strong point, this. This is the second one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we've got our left leg on top, so that's our right arm is going to go up, and our left arm's going to come up to meet it. So do the movement when you're ready, please. Come up when you're ready, please. And swap over your legs. Right leg on top. So this time when we inhale, our left arm's coming up. Do the movement when you're ready, please. Remember to keep your focus on the breathing. That's great. So come up when you're ready. Stretch your legs out a little bit if you need to. Give your legs a little bit of a break. And shake them a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to remember what legs goes on top again. It's left leg on top now, isn't it? Yeah. This is the third time we're doing this movement now. Okay, so left leg on top. No, we just did left leg on top. Left leg on top is correct. I'm so sorry, folks. I have a real problem with left and right sometimes. Okay, right, so on the inhale, our right arm comes up. But before we do that, can we just get back to the breathing? Better. Okay, when you're ready, do the movement, please. Is everyone out of that? Yeah, okay, so swap legs round. And just do the movement in your own time now. when you get into a relaxed position at the extreme, not extreme, the extension, the full extension that you can do today, just watch the whole of the lotus breath as much as you can and really feel where it's taking place in the body. And the breath will be informing the body and the body's informing the breath. Okay, right, so if we shake our legs out, preparing for frequency breathing movement 9, which is the twist. Now, if you remember from this morning, there's various full extensions. So you just figure out your own way where you can get enough of a challenge but not too much of one, just like we did discuss this morning. So before we start, let's bring our focus back to the breathing. So let's do right leg into the bum, left leg over right leg, knee pointing towards the ceiling. Let's get used to the breathing from this point. Contracting into the biveka fold, expanding out, and follow those lotus petals and watch them where they're going in the body and into your fields around the body, centered on the floor between your feet. Try and keep your back upright. Remember that there's an imaginary cord holding your head, the center of your head, up to the ceiling, going right through your back and into earth core. It's not imaginary, actually it is there. Okay. Placing your left hand behind you and looking towards it. If you find your shoulders hunching up, move your hand out a little bit more away from the body. But still keep the intention to keep the back upright and straight. Imagine that cord again. Okay, let's just get used to the breathing from here. Find the nadra point between your feet and just watch where those petals are. If you can't find them, it doesn't matter, you can just intend them. Going into the Viveka fold on the inhale, expanding out on the exhale. Okay, moving into the stretch a little bit more. Just move your head round to that shoulder a little bit more. And create a little bit of torque by holding the knee or bringing the arm round like Bobby showed us this morning. Okay, so just extend the stretch. I'm going to put the microphone down for a bit. Breathing back to the center point. Swap the legs over. Left leg to bum. Right leg over left leg. Right leg to the ceiling. Oi. Okay, let's just sit there for a while. Connect with the breathing. Connect with the cord that's keeping your back upright. Intend to keep your back upright. Move your right arm behind you. Look towards it. And extend the stretch when you're ready. Slowly come back to the centre. Shake your legs out, give them a bit of a break. Okay. Right leg to bum. Left leg over. Left leg behind you. And breathe into the twist stretch. Come back to the centre. Before we move anywhere, just connect with the breathing again, please. Okay, that's better. Left leg to bum, right leg over. Breathe into the stretch and keep in contact with the breathing the whole time, okay? Come back slowly to the centre. Shake the legs out. Just stay there for a little while, the legs out in front. Lovingly remind your back about the upright position. It might need reminding because we're a bit tired. Okay, right, so right heel, isn't it? Right heel to bum. Left leg over right leg. Twisting to the left when you're ready. Off you go. Okay, so swap over. This is the last movement of this particular sequence. So let's make the most of it. When you're in this position, really try and connect with the breathing. You might notice that despite our bodies being in quite strange positions, they actually do like it. and they're really, really happy to be breathing in this way again. So don't overdo it so that you spoil the enjoyment of the moment. Take the stretch to where you can feel it, but leave enough frequency for the pleasure of the return of this breathing. And let the breathing inform you. We can learn from it. We need to rest again, so you need to lie down. We're going to rest for 15 minutes. Can someone keep an eye on the time, please? Have we got 15 minutes? What's the time? What time's the next session?
Well, I hope there's time for breakfast before we get off the boat. You know how we sometimes say that we learn as we go along, as you learn, we learn with you. Oi. Well. I'll put it on the right way up. It'll make it a bit easier for all of us. Hang on. Now, this will be, you'll see this again tonight, okay, first of all. I can't keep this up where I want it to be, really. And there are a number of attempted preempts on my part, as well as the beloved. And all that they want us to do at this point is to give you a simple outline sense of what it is we're about to do and what it is we're about to form a visual or intentional relationship with. Now, to put this in very simple language, in very simple terms, you have an ethos grid, okay, and you have the Kathara grid that you're all familiar with. There are levels of these grids running from the densities on the outer extremes into what would be D1 at the center, all right? Presently, the compromised D3 rod, which is the key to the removal of the pin, because we first have to fix the part of the compromised rod that we can get our energetic hands on, is here, all right, shoved down in the ethos fields. Now, what's going to happen when I take you through this technique is, if you can imagine that as a result of the technique, this ethos grid is going to be moved up by what we do during the technique. If you can imagine, if you could see into the Cathara grid proper, I mean, the one is up here, actually, because the relationship between the two is in opposition to the regular numbering of the Cathara grid. But the key thing is to bear in mind that if you take the apex of the Cathara grid as you know it to be, in its current position, we're going to progressively move this ethos grid up so it overlays the regular Cathara grid. Now, in the process of doing that, okay, we actually start to work on the rod position, literally. So you'll hear me talking about rod positions in relation to your physical body. All right, that's all you'll hear me talking about. But all we want you to understand is that we're actually drawing this ethos grid up as an overlay over the grid that corresponds to the bioetheric grid that you relate to as the density 3 Cathara grid that applies to you. All right? Now, if you follow the instructions, you don't need to be aware of anything more than that the fact this ethos grid is actually moving with the stage of the technique. That there is a part of the technique early on where we rotate a component. You see, this rod is broken into 3 pieces. Okay, as Ash told you on the first day of the workshop. One of them is aligned in its natural organic state, which will be running straight across the body. Okay. The one that is controlled by the heart of Anubis, which is a Totian Metatronic device, is the one that we're working on principally. All right, and that's going to be realigned. It's going to be put back into its natural organic plane across the body through a clockwise 113.5 degree rotation. All right, and I've got a little mylar that shows you how that rotation looks when you're sitting in your chair, so that we don't get various parts of our underwear where we don't want them. Okay. And really, apart from pointing out what the outline of the grid movement is, so that you have some sense that you're actually utilizing one thing to overlay and progressively work on the movement of the rods. And the movement of the rods is, as the ethos grid is moved up the body, okay, we'll begin here, and this is synchronized with a specific breathing technique that you haven't done yet, but you will in a few minutes. And what we're doing, actually, is that we're realigning the rod, and we're moving it up in thirds on the breath. So this movement here corresponds to 3 inhale breaths within 1 inhale breath. So it's inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale, pause. All right? And the technique runs out in a way where you won't feel lost. I mean, it's telling you what to do and when to do it. The only thing that may be peculiar is for you to actually develop a feeling or a sense of where you are with 1/3 of a good inhale breath. And before we start, we'll just have a little practice at feeling what our natural lung capacity is and trying to feel roughly what 1/3 of that is, so you don't get caught by getting to the capacity of your lungs before you've done the third and final 1/3 inhale breath. All right? As we move through it, the instructions will actually be explaining to us what is actually occurring as the ethos grid is moving up and overlaying. You see, you've got spark activations happening, which reflect the movement of the ethos grid and the overlay here. So they're match pairs all the while. So you have sparks working with their corresponding sparks, all right? And they're referred to as we move through the techniques, all right? So there is a point at which we will be making a jump from here up to the pineal. And that literally is representing when the ethos grid is in full overlay position, okay? Now, beyond that, Ash wants to talk in more detail about how this relates to the planetary grids, the fact that the planetary grids are not ready for the pin being pulled quite yet either, but how this all exists in a planetary setting rather than a personal one. So this little bit of an outline, this very rough and ready description of what this technique is doing and what it relates to, right, is as far as we want to go at the present moment. If there's time, it will be developed, but we doubt that we'll be able to get into it very much here. And the likelihood is that the greater detail of this particular application as it relates to us personally in our biology will be covered in more detail in England. All Suffice to say that once this is completed, the etheric component of our anatomical preparation will be complete. Once that's completed, we will move into the final stage, which is the pin removal, and the effects that will then be expressed at the atomic body level, which will relate directly to the biological experience, where the pin will be removed on that level. Okay, so here we're working etherically. Now, the potentially confusing business should be overcome when we talk about putting the second third of the rod back where it belongs. I hope this will help. I've drawn this in a way where here is a person sitting in the room looking at me at the front, okay? The rod that is being held, that has been compromised and is being held by the black heart of Anubis is in this position, and its natural organic position is across the body in that plane. All right? So when I come to the part of talking about the 113.5 degree rotation clockwise, okay, that is the rotation. All right? So that end of the red dotted line is going to swing around the back of you towards your left shoulder or arm, whereas this part is going to swing around to the corresponding side of you on the right. That's what clockwise means. Okay? So the rotation, the rod is sticking out the back of your right at an angle to the back of you on the right. All right? Well, if it makes it easier, even though I've drawn it. Now then, here you all are. All right. So here is the rod. The compromised 1/3 of the rod is at this angle, and it needs to be put to that angle, and you bring it around this way, clockwise in that sense, until it comes into that plane. Okay? Good. Any questions at this point? Well, if I straighten it, Joe, it might be easy to understand. You all right? Okay, I mean, it's as it's shown. Literally, as you're looking at it now, that's the way it works. Alrighty. When we get close to the end, we have to repeat a number of key steps a number of times. I think we have to go through steps 11 through 15 or 16 3 times. Yeah, to get the full Tilia 6 cycle working. And then when we've done, we have to complete the 10 through 12 logos as well. So we got a busy hour, so. I will again read through the technique before we do it together. So this is phase 3 of 4. This is the ethoson number 1. Completing the ancient third 1/3 inhale. First step is, as we've done before, is to inhale the 48 petal lotus. This will be inhaled from the feet point. And from the feet point, we'll use the inhale to move the 48 petal lotus to the Ra-centric chakra 3, then up to the Azare to engage the Tilia Nadra breathing cycle. We will then exhale rapidly from the Azare, pushing the lotus from the Azare downward to the Mahadra in earth core. At this point, we're not talking about 48 petal lotus and the emerald crystal. That is what we're referring to. So general speed of taking this down. It's all getting a bit clipped into shorthand, so I'll just use the word lotus here so you know what it is, though. It's the code that we've been working with. Next step, inhale rapidly when the lotus enters the Mahadra, using the inhale to draw the 1/3 ethos rod at the feet. Second. Could someone just hold this for me a second? Just hold it up so I can. So, this is where we're starting, the 1/3 ethos rod at the feet. Okay, it's the start point. Draw 1/3 ethos rod at the feet upwards through the released green witch. Reversed ethos 1/3 rod at the lower calves, which is here, linking the natural 1/3 density ethos rod, which by now has been moved up, as explaining when I showed you the grids in the beginning. So we moved the ethos grid up by this increment, and we're bringing it into contact with the tilted Greenwich reversed ethos 1/3 density rod as the natural 1/3 ethos rod ascends, makes its upward movement. Continue the inhale, so you're using a progressive 1/3 phased breath here, and observe that the Greenwich reversed ethos rod at the lower calves here quickly shifts. This is where it comes in that rotation diagram, 113.5 degrees, and aligns with the 1/3 natural ethos rod. The two 1/3 ethos density 1 rods merging to form a 2/3 ethos rod ascending. Okay, now this is where we're actually releasing at D1.5, merging at D1.75. The 1/3 remaining is at D2.5. And as far as the planet is concerned, nothing, as far as we know, can be done about it. But as far as ourselves are concerned, by working with these materials, we will in fact be able to, at the very least, subsidize the effect of the remaining 1/3 at 2.5, D2.5. And that is not a part of what we're doing, okay? But it does, it's a hanging, it's a thread that needs to be addressed and resolved, and it won't be done this session. I mean, this entire gathering. Okay, so this quickly shifts to 113.5 and aligns with the 1/3 natural ethos rod. The two 1/3 ethos density 1 rods merging to form a 2/3 ethos rod ascending. Complete the inhale, drawing the 2/3 ethos rod up to mid-thigh. So literally on the breath, you'll be pulling the rod up to this position. Okay. That's the density 1 Iyumbi position. Hold the inhale a moment with the 2/3 ethos rod stationed at mid-thigh. There. With the 2/3 ethos density 1 rod at the mid-thigh point of density at the mid-thigh point of density 1 Iyumbi, the ethos K1, that's the density 1 signet, intersects with the density 1 Rajna at Loti PCM position at chakra 10 above the head, completing the final 1/3 ancient inhale breath that was stifled within the planetary body 5.5 million years ago. You hold this breath at the top of this third 1/3 inhale and sense, observe, intend that the 2/3 ethos density 1 rod at mid-thigh, this one, jumps as the density ethos Iyumbi flame and density PCM Azare flame spark the second 45 subharmonic spark at the Azare. The density 1 2/3 ethos rod automatically jumps from mid-thigh to the Azare, which is there. No, it's not. It's here actually on this diagram. At the Azare, that's that one. K1 Azare. Jumps from mid-thigh to this position here, bringing the PCM density 1 Loti rod and 2/3 ethos density 1 rod into merger at the Azare and fully aligning the density 1 PCM Loti and ethos Kathara grids. The ancient first 45 subharmonic spark and new 45 subharmonic spark release a 90 subharmonic charge spark pulse into the PCM low T seed atom. The ancient exhale, inhale, last breath is finally complete. Now the next stage is to begin the sixth breath cycle, and that is one cycle of 6 breaths. You begin by exhaling rapidly from the azare, using the exhale breath to push the 2/3 density 1 ethos rod down to the Mahadra at Earth core. So where we brought and merged the rods at this point, at the point that you would know as the azare in your body, is all we're talking about, is that by beginning the 6 breath cycle, you will exhale, pushing the 2/3 density 1 ethos rod down to the Mahadra at Earth core, mentally counting exhale 1, and shifting attention to the D3 ethos rod that is stationed at the feet on completion of the full exhale. So you bring your attention down to here. Inhale the first 1/3 inhale breath using the D3 ethos rod to direct the density 1 and D2 and D1 ethos rods. Inhale the first 1/3 inhale, drawing the D3 ethos rod up from the feet to the center of the calves, engaging the D3 ethos, K1 signet, and D3 PCM Iombi. Pause on the first 1/3 inhale breath with the D3 ethos rod at the center of the calves for a moment. Continue the inhale to the second 1/3 inhale breath. This is the second component of the same breath. Using the second 1/3 inhale to draw the D3 ethos rod from the center of the calves to about 1 inch above the knee point, just above the top of the kneecaps, which is this point here. It's the second 1/3 point there. Okay, so the movement from the beginning exhale to the end of first third of that breath, inhale, is to there. With a slight pause, and we move through the second third up to this position. And the technique will take us to moving it to there. This point, just above the kneecaps, merges the D3 ethos Iombi and D3 PCM Iombi ethos flames, releasing the first 45 subharmonic spark at the Iombi into the pillar of power, D3 ethos, K1 at D3 azare. Pause for a moment at the second 1/3 inhale stage with a D3 ethos rod just above the top of the kneecaps to receive the first Iombi spark. Continue the inhale to the third 1/3 inhale breath completion, using the third 1/3 inhale to draw the D3 ethos rod from just above the top of the knees to the D3 Iombi, which is that final point there. This merges the D3 ethos Iombi flame with the D3 PCM azare flame, ethos K1 signet at PCM Rajna, releasing the second spark at the azare, the 45 subharmonic azare spark. Pause for a moment at the end of the third 1/3 inhale with the D3 ethos rod at the PCM Iombi to receive the azare spark. Keeping the D3 ethos rod at the D3 PCM Iombi, complete the third inhale by expanding the lungs fully, inhaling to absolutely fullest capacity, then hold a moment at the top of the third and final 1/3 inhale and mentally count inhale 1. As the D3 ethos Iombi and D3 PCM azare flames spark, the second spark at the azare, the D3 ethos rod, automatically jumps from the D3 PCM Iombi to the D3 PCM azare, fully aligning the D3 ethos and D3 PCM Kathara grids and merging the D3 ethos and PCM rods at the azare. The 245 subharmonic sparks release a 90 charge subharmonic spark from the pillar of power into the PCM seed atom, pushing the D3 ethos cathara grid rapidly down into the exhale, expansion number 2. So here we'd exhale rapidly from the azare, using the breath to ride the D3 ethos grid descending wave downward, moving the D3 ethos pillar from the azare downward to the feet at its full exhale expansion position. And here you'd mentally count exhale 2. Pause for a moment at the bottom of the exhale with the D3 ethos rod at the feet. Begin the inhale number 2 cycle. Inhale the first 1/3 element of the breath, inhale number 2, from the nadra key at the feet point, and draw the D3 ethos rod from the feet to the center of the calves, giving the mental command, ethos engage, with the D3 ethos rod at the calves. Pause for a moment with the ethos rod at the calves on the first 1/3 breath of inhale number 2. Continue inhale number 2, taking the second 1/3 inhale element from the calf point in the central column between the center of the calves. So just as the point is between the feet here, you'd be taking it, imagining the space between the calves right there. Using the breath to draw D3 ethos rod up from the calves to just above the knees, give the mental command Iombi Spark 1 with the D3 ethos rod just above the knees, and pause a moment on the second 1/3 breath of inhale number 2 to receive the Iombi Spark number 1. We'll continue inhale number 2, taking the third 1/3 inhale breath from the knee point between the knees, using the breath to draw the D3 ethos rod up from just above the knees to PCM D3 Iombi, giving the mental command Azare Spark 2 with the D3 ethos rod at D3 PCM Iombi, and pause a moment on the third 1/3 breath of inhale 2 to receive the Azare Spark number 2. With the D3 ethos rod at the D3 PCM Iombi, complete the third 1/3 inhale, filling the lungs to capacity, and hold for a moment the top of the third 1/3 breath of inhale number 2. The D3 rod automatically jumps from the D3 PCM Iombi to the D3 PCM Azare, bringing the D3 ethos and D3 PCM Cathara grids and rods into full alignment, and releasing 90 charge subharmonic spark pulse into the PCM seed atom, giving the mental command, inhale number 2, jump, spark pulse, ethos descend. Exhale rapidly from the azare, using the exhale breath to ride the D3 ethos cathara grid down into full expansion as the D3 ethos rod descends from the azare to full exhale at the feet position. Mentally count exhale number 3 and pause for a moment at the bottom of the exhale with the D3 ethos rod at the feet. Then begin inhale number 3 cycle, ethos ascent breath, repeating steps 11 through 15 on inhale number 3 cycle. Complete inhale number 3 cycle, which fulfills one set of 3 exhale, inhale, expansion, contraction breaths. So here we'd repeat steps 11 through 15 3 more times. And in doing so, we'll fulfill one full Tiliya 6 cycle. One cycle of 6 3-pause breaths, in which the PCM seed atom receives a 180 charge harmonic spark pulse and initiates Nadra seal release and Adore flame current atomic etheric activation. This sets in motion the automatic activation of the Tiliya 12 cycle, that's 36 3-pause breaths, through which the Nadra complex electrical activation reaches its tharo peak to run full harmonic 180 Adore flame. At the end of the sixth exhale inhale cycle, at the pause at the top of the 6th and final inhale, exhale forcefully from the azare to the Mahadra in earth core, Return the D3 ethos rod from the azare to the feet position as the final exhale descends, and return to natural gentle breathing from the Nadra key feet point, giving the command Nadradon Adore Fire. And from this point we go to the logo movements 10 through 12, doing 3 sets of the sequence while breathing the D3 ethos rod on the inhale all the way up to the azare and down to the feet on the exhale breaths. I think there's a wonderful irony of sorts, at least it appeals to me ironically, that we should be asked to perform the most significant and powerful technique when we're all starting to feel a bit frayed and tired. I know that they have a sense of humor, I don't know whether you do. And I suppose they're quite serious when they urge us to think about the art of gentle persistence. We'll have to get our yayas out in a minute then. Okay. So, if you're sitting comfortably, we will begin. Take 2 or 3 deep and relaxing breaths. As we approach phase 3, Etherson number 1, completing the ancient third 1/3 inhale. Yep. I will read it literally as it's given. I would never think to paraphrase, leaving anything out, change anything. I will, yes. No, I won't leave you to try and remember it. You know, I'll talk you through it. Golly. I mean, I can't remember half of what I've just read to you, and I've been reading it from the paper. I mean, I might be a bit wacky, but I'm not a pervert. All right, you lovely people. All right, step 1. Inhaling from the inhaling from the feet point. Inhale the 48 petal lotus and emerald crystal, breathing from the feet point, drawing the 48 petal lotus to the Ra center, chakra 3, then on to the azare, and in this way engaging the Taliya Nadra breathing cycle. Now exhale forcefully and quickly from the azare, pushing the lotus from the azare downward to the Mahadra in earth core. Then inhale rapidly when the lotus enters the Mahadra, using the breath to draw 1/3 ethos rod. Now remember, 1/3 of your inhale capacity. To draw 1/3 ethos rod at the feet upward through the released Greenwich reversed ethos rod at the lower calves, linking natural 1/3 density ethos rod with a tilted Greenwich reversed ethos 1/3 rod. As the natural ethos rod ascends, continue the inhale and observe that the Greenwich reversed ethos rod at the lower calves quickly shifts 113.5 degrees clockwise, and intend that does so and aligns with the 1/3 natural ethos rod. The 2 1/3 ethos density 1 rods are merging now, and intend that to form a 2/3 ethos rod ascending. Complete the inhale, the final leg of the inhale, drawing 2/3 ethos rod up to the mid-thigh. So just imagine a horizontal rod like you saw drawn across the diagrams coming up to mid-thigh point, okay? Hold the inhale there for a moment with the 2/3 ethos rod stationed at mid-thigh. Holding the breath at the top of this third and final inhale, holding it. Intend the 2/3 ethos density 1 rod at mid-thigh jumps as the density ethos EMB flame and density PCM Azure flame sparks. The second 45 subharmonic spark at the Azure. The ethos rod automatically jumps from the mid-thigh to the Azure, and intend that it's doing that, bringing the PCM density 1. I know about the breathing and all the reading, it's difficult. Lote rod and 2/3 ethos density 1 rod into merger at the Azure. Intend the merger at the Azure, fully aligning the density 1 PCM Lote and ethos Cathara grids. And just breathe easy for a moment. At this point, the ancient first 45 subharmonic spark and the new 45 subharmonic spark release a 90 subharmonic charge spark pulse into the PCM Lote seed atom. The ancient exhale, inhale, last breath is finally complete. And again, intend that to be so. Now we're going to begin the 6 breath cycle. That's one complete set of 6 each. Exhale, inhale. Now try and remember that, unless I say otherwise, when we're talking about the inhale, we're doing them in progressive 1/3 portions of our lung capacity. So we begin using the exhale, as we must. Just draw a gentle inhale breath, but prepare to exhale rapidly from the Azure, using the breath, the exhale, to push the 2/3 density 1 ethos rod down to the Mahadra Earth's core. Mentally count this as exhale number 1, and shift attention to the D3 ethos rod that is stationed at the feet on full exhale. Inhale the first 1/3 component, using the D3 weight. We're using the D3 ethos rod to direct the density 1 and density 2 and density 1 ethos rods. I'll start that over. Inhale the first 1/3 component of the inhale breath, using the D3 ethos rod to direct the density 1 and 2 ethos rods. Inhale the first 1/3, drawing the D3 ethos rod up from the feet to the center of the calves. So 1/3 of the first portion of the inhale, draw the rod up from the feet to the center of the calves. Engaging the D3 ethos K1 signet and D3 PCM EMB. Pause on this section with a D3 ethos rod at the center of the calves for a moment. Now continue with the second third of the inhale breath, using the second one to draw the D3 ethos rod from the center of the calves to about 1 inch above the knee point, just above the top of the kneecaps. This merges the D3 ethos EMB and D3 PCM EMB ethos flames, releasing the first 45 subharmonic spark at the EMB into the pillar of power. Pause for a moment at the top of this second 1/3 inhale with the D3 ethos rod just above the top of the kneecaps. Now continue the next section of this breath, using the breath to draw the D3 ethos rod from just above the knees to the D3 EMB. Now intend that this merges the D3 ethos EMBIC flame with the D3 PCM Azure flame, releasing the second spark at the Azure, and intend that the second spark is releasing at the Azure. This is the 45 subharmonic Azure spark. Pause a moment at the third 1/3 inhale with the D3 ethos rod at the PCM EMB to receive the Azure spark. Keeping the D3 ethos rod at the D3 PCM EMBIC, complete the third inhale by expanding the lungs fully, inhaling to capacity, then hold a moment at the top of the third 1/3 inhale and mentally count inhale 1. As the D3 ethos, EOMB, and D3 PCM azure flame spark, the second spark at the azure, the D3 ethos rod automatically jumps from the D3 PCM EOMB to the D3 PCM azure, fully aligning the D3 ethos and D3 PCM cathara grids and merging the D3 ethos and PCM rods at the azure. Oy. Okay. So let that breath go, pushing the D3 ethos cathara grid rapidly down into the exhale expansion number 2 position. So exhaling rapidly from the azure, use the breath to ride the D3 ethos grid, descending wave downward, moving the D3 ethos pillar from the azure downward to the feet at its full exhale expansion position. Mentally count exhale 2. Pause for a moment at the bottom of the exhale with the D3 ethos rod at the feet. Now begin inhale number 2. Inhale the first 1/3 breath of the inhale from the Nadra key at the feet point and draw the D3 ethos rod from the feet to the center of the calves, giving the mental command ethos engage with the D3 ethos rod at the calves. Pause a moment with the ethos rod at the calves on the first 1/3 breath of the inhale number 2. Continuing inhale number 2, we'll be taking the second 1/3 inhale breath from the calf point in the central vertical current between the center of the calves, using the breath to draw D3 ethos rod up from the calves to just above the knees, giving the mental command EOMB spark 1. With the D3 ethos rod just above the knees, pause a moment on the second 1/3 breath of the inhale number 2 to receive the EOMB spark number 1. Continue inhale number 2, taking the third 1/3 inhale breath from the knee point between the knees, using the breath to draw the D3 ethos rod up from just above the knees to PCM D3 EOMB. Give the mental command azure spark 2 with the D3 ethos rod at the D3 PCM EOMB, and pause a moment on the third 1/3 breath of inhale 2 to receive the azure spark. With the D3 ethos rod at D3 PCM EOMB, complete the third 1/3 inhale, filling the lungs to capacity, and hold for a moment at the top of the third 1/3 breath of inhale number 2. As the D3 rod automatically jumps from D3 PCM EOMB to D3 PCM azure, bringing D3 ethos and D3 PCM cathara grids and rods into full alignment and releasing 90 charged subharmonic spark pulse into the PCM CD atom, give the mental command inhale number 2, jump spark pulse, ethos descend. Okay, just take a gentle inhale because that was really stretching it. Just take a gentle inhale, pick up the point that you're at. Okay, the D3 rod automatically jumps from D3 PCM. You don't have to do this, I'm just telling you where you were. To the D3 PCM azure, bringing the D3 ethos and D3 PCM cathara grids and rods into full alignment and releasing 90 charged subharmonic spark pulse into the PCM seed atom. You've given the mental command jump spark pulse, ethos descend. Now this little inhale you've taken, exhale rapidly from the azure, using the exhale breath to ride the D3 ethos cathara grid down into full expansion as the D3 ethos rod descends from the azure to full exhale at the feet position. Mentally count exhale number 3 and pause for a moment at the bottom of the exhale with the D3 ethos rod at the feet. Then begin inhale number 3 cycle, ethos ascent breath, repeating steps 11 through 15. Okay, so we have to do 11 through 15 3 more times. Now I'm doing my best as we're working through this to leave out unnecessary descriptive information so that I can get it in a little better sync with your breathing, because some of these pauses are really quite long. I know, I feel for you. Okay. just stay as you are. Just bear with me a minute. There's something in this that I'm having to double check. Okay. So we'll begin this cycle. Inhale the first 1/3 breath. From the Nadra key at the feet point, and draw the D3 ethos rod from the feet to the center of the calves, giving the mental command ethos engage. This is with the D3 ethos rod at the calves. Pause for a moment with the rod at the calves. We'll continue the inhale, taking a second from the calf point, drawing the D3 ethos rod up from the calves to just above the knees, giving the mental command Iombi Spark 1. This is done with the D3 ethos rod just above the knees. Pause a moment to receive the Iombi Spark number 1. Continue the inhale, taking the third inhale breath from the knee point between the knees, using the breath to draw the D3 rod up from just above the knees to the PCM D3 Iombi. Give the mental command Azare Spark 2 with the ethos rod at the Iombi point, and pause for a moment to receive Azare Spark 2. With the rod at the Iombi, complete the third inhale, filling the lungs to capacity, and hold for a moment at the top of the third part of the breath. The rod automatically jumps from the Iombi to the Azare, releasing the 90 charge, and give the mental command jump, spark, pulse, ethos descend. At that point, exhale rapidly from the Azare, using the breath to ride the D3 ethos Kathara grid down into full expansion as the ethos rod descends from the Azare to the full exhale point at the feet position. Pause briefly at the bottom of the exhale. And then we begin the next inhale in the cycle. 2 more to go. Okay, first part of the 1/3 of the breath. From the Nadra key at the feet point, draw the rod from the feet to the center of the calves, giving the mental command ethos engage with the rod at the calves, and pause for a moment. Take the second 1/3 breath from the calf point. Draw the rod up from the calves to just above the knees, giving the mental command Iombi Spark 1 with the D3 rod just above the knees, and pause briefly. And move into the third and final part of the inhale, breathing from the knee point. Draw the rod up from just above the knees to the Iombi, giving the mental command Azare Spark 2 with the rod at the Iombi, and pause for a moment to receive the Azare Spark 2. With the rod at the Iombi, complete the final part of the inhale, filling the lungs to capacity, and hold for a moment at the top. The rod automatically jumps from the Iombi to the Azare, bringing the grids and rods into full alignment, releasing the 90 charge. Give the mental command jump, spark, pulse, ethos descend, and exhale rapidly from the Azare, using the breath to ride the ethos grid down into full expansion as the rod descends from the Azare to full exhale by the time it reaches the feet position. Okay, mentally count nothing at all. All right, the final part of the cycle. We return to the inhale, first third of the breath. From the Nadra key at the feet point, draw the D3 rod from the feet to the center of the calves, giving the mental command ethos engage with the rod at the calves, and pause there briefly. Take the second 1/3 component of the breath from the calf point. Using the breath to draw the rod up from the calves to just above the knees, give the mental command Iumbi spark 1 with the rod just above the knees, and pause when you've done that for a moment. Continue into the third part, the final part of the inhale. Well, it's not the final, but it's the penultimate one. From the knee point between the knees, using the breath to draw the rod up from just above the knees to the Iumbi, giving the mental command Azare spark 2 with the rod at the Iumbi. Pause there for a moment to receive the Azare spark number 2. Okay, with the rod at the Iumbi, completely fill the lungs to capacity and hold for a moment at the top. The rod automatically jumps from the Iumbi to the Azare, bringing the ethos and Kathara grids and rods into alignment and releasing the 90 charge subharmonic spark pulse into the PCM seed atom. Give the mental command, jump, spark, pulse, ethos descend, and exhale rapidly from the Azare, using the breath to ride the D3 ethos Kathara grid down into full expansion as the D3 ethos rod descends from the Azare to coincide with the full exhale at the feet position. So, having completed these further sets, you have now fulfilled one full Taliya 6 cycle in which the PCM seed atom receives the 180 charge harmonic spark pulse and initiates the Nadra seal release and Adore flame current atomic etheric activation. This has set in motion the automatic activation of the Taliya 12 cycle, through which the Nadra complex electrical activation reaches its thorough peak to return full harmonic 180 Adore flame. To run the full harmonic 180 Adore flame. Just draw one long, gentle inhale breath, one complete breath. Pause at the top of the breath. And let me describe this while you're holding. And you will exhale forcefully from the Azare down to the Mahadrin earth core, returning the D3 ethos rod from the Azare to the feet position as the final exhale descends. And then return to natural gentle breathing from the Nadra key feet point. Give the command Nadradon Adore fire. Just breathe easily for a minute or two. Continue as you have done already today. Continue to breathe. Breathing the ethos rod on the inhale all the way up to the Azare, and on the exhale breathing the rod all the way down to the feet, to the Nadra. Now the coordinated breathing, that's to say coordinating the movement of the D3 ethos rod upward and downward on the inhale and exhale, is a breathing rhythm or pattern that we want you to continue with as you sit in a hopefully relaxed state, and all the way through the space between now and when Jane takes you through the final Logas, number 10, 11 and 12, and she will again offer gentle reminders periodically that the breathing pattern that we are using through the final 3 Logas is the one that you're using now. So you'll be breathing the movement of the rod up from the feet and down. So up to the azare, down to the feet. If you want to kick off a cycle, remember to begin with the exhale, right, to begin a complete cycle. So if you lose it and you want to reset it, okay, begin with an exhale breath. So that effectively means that you have the rod up at the azare and you put it down to the feet. That's my current understanding, and that's the one we'll work with for the time being. Okay. You just continue, just relax into it, just really remind the brain that it has a new idea to work with for a little while, and keep an eye on what it's doing. It's good to stuff these kinds of ideas into the mentor, and give the mentor the supervisory role to give you a tap on the shoulder when you stray and you forget, and it's just a case of it popping through and saying or something similar, and just bring your focus, your attention back to the fact that you decided you're going to breathe in this pattern for a while, and your brain will find something to worry about, like whether you've got enough ketchup at home when you get back from this trip, and important things like that. Just don't judge it, just bring it back to where you need it to be, all right, periodically. So I'll hand over to Janie now, and hopefully the fourth and final leg of what we have to do technique-wise will be ready, which will be the actual pin pulling part. And I think that the pin pulling part is pretty damn simultaneous with assisting in the pin pulling on the planetary level, which means that that's going to happen while we do the round. Okay? So I think this next technique, it may be in two parts, I don't know. It wasn't that close to finish when I left. But my guess is we'll probably be doing the whole thing in a stand, and we'll be doing it for the planet and ourselves simultaneously. Makes sense anyway. Okay, I'll be back as quickly as I can. I'm certainly going to leave you for half an hour to get through this bit, but we'll plan to be back, I hate to say it, by 3 a.m. And thank you. Thank you.
Right foot into left groin, or however high you can get your foot. Gently encourage the right knee to go further to the floor. You might want to bounce it a little bit, just gently. Lifting up on the inhale. Bend forward on the exhale. You might want to walk your hands down your leg. Stay there and breathe for a little while. Come up on the inhale, visualizing the rod moving up from the feet. Gently swap over, left foot into right leg. Encourage the left knee to drop to the floor a little bit, just gently. Lifting up from the hips, stretching up on the inhale and bending forwards on the exhale. Coming up gently on the inhale, you might want to walk your hands up your leg. Shake the legs out a little bit. Right foot into left leg, up to the groin area if you can. Encourage the right knee to the floor. Observe the breathing again, intend the breathing. Lifting up from the hip. Extending forward on the exhale. Stay there for a little while. Come up on the inhale. Smoothly move your left leg over to your right leg. Stretch the right leg out. Encourage your left knee to the floor. Bring your focus back to the breathing. Lifting up. And bending forward. Inhale. Stretch your legs out, shake your legs a little bit. Okay, right leg into left groin. Just stay there for a bit and concentrate on the breathing. Stretching up and moving forward on the exhale. Coming up gently, real gently. Left leg to right groin, stretching the right leg out. Encourage the left knee to the floor if you need to. Lifting up. Moving forward. Coming up when you're ready, real gentle, moving the arm back the hand back up the leg. Stretch the legs out, give them a little shake. Okay, from this morning you know your maximum extension that you can normally reach with this one. You might not be able to take your hands off the floor yet, that's fine, you know which way you're doing. So we're sitting up, our knees are bent, our feet are flat on the floor. And we're just going to sit here for a second and get used to the breathing from this position before we do anything. Okay, so I'm going to have to put the microphone down, but just to remind you, you're putting your hands behind you. And when you're ready, you lift. And let me just check if we're lifting on the inhale or exhale. Hang on. Yeah, we inhale and we lift on the exhale. So in other words, we're using the thrust of the breath to help us lift our legs off the floor. If you can straighten the legs, straighten them. If you can take your hands off the floor and have your arms parallel to the floor, do that. And if you can have your arms behind the head, do that. So just take it to the natural maximum extension for you. And we're just going to hold it for a real short while. Leave yourself enough frequency to do the breathing. So if that means you don't take your body to its full extent, that's better to do that, so you have enough energy left to focus on the breathing as well. Okay? So when you're ready, inhale, and on the exhale, start to lift your legs. Come back when you're ready. Sitting up again, feet flat on the floor. When you're ready, take the inhale, start to lift the legs on the exhale, take it to the maximum extension for you. Come back when you're ready. Breathe. When you're ready, inhale and do the third time for this movement. Move on the exhale. Come back when you're ready, shake your legs out. Okay, when we go into the tree, there's only water anywhere. That's my voice there. when we go into the tree, we're still going to keep the breathing that Az told us to do. We're not going to do the breathing that's on the sheet. Okay. So standing up. Let's just stand up and do some breathing standing up and getting used to it again. We're just settling the energy a bit here. We're just going to wait until everyone's ready. So you know how far you like to go with this one, so you either have your right leg on your foot or your knee or your groin. Okay, so when you're ready, I can't do this with a microphone like I could this morning, so I think I'll just talk you through it and then I'll do it. Okay, lifting your arms up. And breathing. Take your leg down when you're ready. You only have to do about 3 breaths. So it's better just to leave your foot on, just to have the right leg on the foot and concentrate on the breathing. And if you need to have a chair next to you to hold you and just have one arm in the air, do that. I think it's more challenging at the moment because we're tired. I think this morning a lot of us were finding it easier. So leave enough energy to do the breathing, okay? Okay. So when you're ready, go over onto the left side. Lifting the arms up on the inhale. Just stay there. Get into a position where you can do 3 breaths nicely. Okay, come down when you're ready. Okay. I'm going to leave you to do 2 more of them. So you do left and right, and then you do another left and right. And I'm going to join in with you. You have to put the microphone down. think we just need to lie down and breathe.
Lungs, and my lungs naturally suck in air as I'm speaking. So you don't have to go, gasping for air. So that's one way of, if you just become aware of your lungs. And also how I found with that particular sequence of breath, that when you sing the Umai Trei Kasha, if at that point you don't actually take a breath in, but you allow yourself to take a breath in as you're singing the Ire. And as I say, initially you might sound like Kermit the Frog, but who cares? And we're all a bit tired at this point. But it can be quite powerful to get that rhythm of the breath. Okay? So if you want to try it like that, otherwise just do it the normal way. Okay? So, Umai Trei Kasha, Umai Trei Kasha, Umai Trei Kasha. Manu, and hold the ribs as strong as you can. It's kind of as if you're doing it on a stable. Sorry, I'll explain it, and then we do it. And we're all tired, so I mean it doesn't matter how we sound at this point. But if you want to, like the suggestion is that one of them is on the inhale, one of them is as we hold the breath, and the other as you exhale. So if you just think of your ribs, and as you're singing, as you're inhaling, just let your ribs expand. Don't worry about too much what you sound like. And then for the manau breath, for the still point, just hold your ribs as strongly as you can so that you're not actually expelling too much air. And then on the mane breath, just let the breath flow out. And it actually develops into a nice rhythm, when you have more energy. We're all tired now, but just as a suggestion, okay? So it started again. Umai Trei Kasha, Umai Trei Kasha, Umai Trei Kasha, Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Ire Saradi Keshe Tamira Pranaji, Manu Ekreda Kyuki Maayana Treari, Manikai Hahura Haramaya Manaki, Umai Trei Kasha. Manu ekreda kuki Mahayana Treyari Monika Ihahura Haramaya Monaki. Last one. Yumai Treyina Ekasha. Manu ekreda kuki Mahayana Treyari Monika Ihahura Haramaya Monaki. Ashalom ta ekashada. Ashalom ta ekashada.
Ashalom ta ekashada.
But you get the sense of the rhythm of it if you got used to practicing it. It's actually much more of a flow to it, to do it like that. And you're naturally singing more softly for the ear, and then the mane, because you're expelling air, it's naturally stronger in volume. So it's quite. I find it very. I mean, we're all tired now, but if you do it, it actually has much more power to it. And you're kind of keeping the rhythm of the breath. So, okay, so that's great. So what?
The three, no, I don't know. $33, if you didn't guess. The 333. It's got a lot to do with we're hearing now with the Trinity hubs, which is something that very few people know much about, including me. Anyway, it's already that's very much in the moment stuff. She was trying to avoid getting involved in that kind of detail, which is the technical business, in order that we could get the actual stand detail finished without keeping you up much longer than this. So what we have to do next is to rearrange the room. Well, unless you want to spin on the chair, set in a very carefully and technically perfect ruche formation. I suggest that we move the chairs to the sides of the room now, and any personal effects, extraneous baggage, all the kinds of things that could cause you to trip over and hurt yourself, we need them out of the way. If you can put the chairs away against the wall so that you can sit down again for a little while, we'll review the detail of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And by the time we've finished that, our good self should be with us, and it should be close to start time. Anybody keeled over? No? Excellent. 10 minutes to get through this, and Ash should be with us by then. All right, phase 4, pulling the poison pin, unplugging the genetic time codes of the DNA template and the density Atmos etheric atomic shield from the sextant clock Greenwich or Greenwich line and atomic clock C60, carbon 60 distortions. All right. Releasing the D1.5 atomic poison pin and atomic 1.75 heart of Anubis implant, releasing the atomic pillar of power and freeing the 24 lotus points and nadrodon cells from the pentagonal C60 buckyball reversed radiation matrix harness. The paragraph on preparation simply is a statement of what we've already done and what we completed just prior to the last break, which was, we were referring to that as phase 3. So we've done all of that. Step 1, after completing the 6-cycle and Loga set preparation, inhale a slow, deep, and this is standing in rounds position, by the way. Inhale a slow, deep 48-petal lotus breath into the azure and draw the 48-petal lotus down to the Ra center from the azure as the inhale breath completes. Hold the inhale at the Ra center for a moment with lungs at full expansion. Exhale firmly on a single point downward axis, using the exhale to push the 48-petal lotus from the Ra center down to the Nadra key feet point. Hold at full exhale for a moment with the lotus at the Nadra key and call to mind the 7 Ka Ra Biveka crystals stored in the Nadra key. Inhale gently into the Nadra key, using the inhale to draw the cluster of 7 Ka Ra crystals into the center point of the 48-petal lotus at the Nadra key. Exhale gently into the Nadra key, keeping the lotus with the Ka Ra crystal cluster center at the Nadra key. Run 1 set of 3 etherson breaths. Inhale at the Nadra key feet point while drawing the D3 ethos rod at the feet all the way up to the azure for full alignment with the PCM rod at the top of the inhale. Pause at the top of the inhale. D3 ethos rod at the azure. Then from the azure, exhale firmly, using the exhale to push D3 ethos rod back down to the feet at the bottom of the exhale. Pause a moment at the bottom of the exhale, lungs empty, with the D3 ethos rod at the feet. Do 2 more. Inhale, Nadra ethos rod to azure. Exhale, azure ethos rod to feet. Inhale, exhale breaths. The last exhale breath ending at the Nadra key with D3 ethos rod at the feet. Pause at the bottom of the last exhale. Notice that as you pause on the last exhale of the ethos on 3 cycle, that the Ka Ra 7 crystal cluster in the Nadra key begins to shimmer and glow with a pale silvery aquamarine D13.5 lotus light, and a vibration wave begins to emerge through the Nadra key and into both feet. Inhale and exhale gently from the Nadra key, and observe, intend that on each exhale the Ka Ra crystal cluster aquamarine light grows brighter and its corresponding vibration in the feet stronger. Inhale at the Nadra key, using the inhale breath to contract the 7 Ka Ra crystals in the cluster together into 1 Ka Ra Biveka crystal in the Nadra key. Exhale firmly into the center of the consolidated Ka Ra crystal at the Nadra key, and observe, intend that the 2 fused, that's the fused Ka and Ra, units of the Biveka Ka Ra crystal suddenly shatter into a starburst of beautiful pale silvery aquamarine D13.5 lotus light within the Nadra key feet point. Inhale again at the Nadra key, using the inhale to draw the aquamarine lotus starburst into a singular point of radiant aquamarine light in the Nadra key, and observe, intend, as the lotus starburst point of light now solidifies into a small, beautiful, singular aquamarine lotus crystal within the Nadra key. Exhale gently into the center of the D13.5 aquamarine lotus crystal in the Nadra key. And then inhale at the Nadra key, using the inhale breath to draw the aquamarine lotus crystal up from the Nadra key feet point to the Ra center at chakra 3. Hold at the top of the inhale breath with the lotus crystal at the Ra center. Exhale gently from the Ra center, using the exhale to gently push aquamarine lotus crystal from chakra 3 Ra center to chakra 2 Ka center. Hold the breath a moment at the bottom of the exhale with the lotus crystal at the Ka center, chakra 2. Inhale a 48-petal lotus into the D13.5 aquamarine lotus crystal in the chakra 2 Ka center. Hold the inhale a moment at chakra 2 Ka center, then firmly but gently exhale on a single point horizontal axis towards the rear, using the exhale to push the lotus crystal from chakra 2 sacral Ka center backward horizontally into the chakra 1 seed seal in the tip of the tailbone. That's at the coccyx. Or coccyx, depending on where you come from. In American. That's coccyx. As the aquamarine lotus crystal enters the tip of the tailbone, coccyx, observe intent that the lotus crystal begins emanating a progressively brightening, pale, silvery aquamarine lotus D13.5 light and corresponding felt vibration. Breathe gently from chakra 2 Ka center and observe the lotus crystal in the tailbone tip. That's tricky, turning that over. Continue gentle Ka center breathing as the lotus crystal in the tailbone flashes into a beautiful pale silvery aquamarine starburst. Observe as the starburst flash of D13.5 lotus light occurs in the tailbone tip. A set of 24 corresponding aquamarine lotus starbursts flash on, one in each of the 24 PCM lotus points, and sense a corresponding vibration emerge in all 24 lotus points, then spreading into the central vertical current and pillar of power. Shift your attention to the Nadra key at the feet point and inhale deeply from the Nadra key, using the inhale to draw pale, silvery aquamarine lotus light simultaneously from all 24 lotus points into the central pillar of power and down into the Nadra key at the top of the inhale. Hold the breath for a moment at the top of the inhale at the Nadra key. In one forceful exhale at the Nadra key, push a starburst of pale silvery aquamarine lotus light out from the center of the Nadra key. Hold the breath at the bottom of the exhale for a moment, then quickly but gently inhale, drawing a cord of lotus light up from the Nadra key to the Ra center, then exhale gently at the Ra center. Breathe normally from the Ra center, using each exhale breath to push rays of aquamarine lotus light outward around the entire body from the Ra center. Observe that on each inhale, the lotus light in the Ra center, Nadra key, pillar of power, and all lotus points intensifies and brightens. Continue natural lotus light breathing from the Ra center and observe as the D1.75 Anubis black heart implant pops and transmutes into a spark of gold, a gold burst at the bottom of chakra 2 Ka center. Next, observe as a dense, really? Okay, ashes to ashes, gold dust. Okay, a speck of gold dust at the bottom of the chakra 2 Ka center. Next, observe as a dense gold metallic pin that extends from the knee point to the center of chakra 4 emerges and rapidly de-densifies and transmutes in the D13.5 lotus light. Continue normal Ra center lotus light breathing and observe that the D1.5 green witch reversed D3 Eros rod in the upper thigh region and the D2 counterpart in the base of the Ra center chakra 3 both spin on a horizontal plane clockwise from right to left, from rear to left. from rear to the left, right? Okay. Resuming the natural 3 east, left, 9 west, right shield position of the ethos rod. Finally observe as a dense gold metallic buckyball C60 radiation harness emerges with the density 1 nadrodon cell between the Maharic shield 12 inches below the feet and lower calves, and an aquamarine lotus flash emerges from the Nadraki feet points. Observe as the C60 nadrodon cell radiation matrix harness de-densifies and disappears within the nadrodon cell, and a beautiful 180 charge Adare standing flame emerges at the Nadraki and expands to fill the entire density 1 nadrodon cell between the Maharic shield and the lower calves. Inhale a deep, slow breath into the Nadraki. Hold at the top of the inhale. Then exhale once forcefully, using the exhale to push 180 Adare standing flame down into the Mahadra at earth core, where it will remain and continue activation of all nadrodon cells. Breathe one.
They were coming through on this one, loud and fast, and breathe now. And
Breathe now and forever from the Mahadra Adare flame to enter the perpetual cycle of atoms regeneration through Tilea Nadra breathing. The stand is completed by breathing gently from the Mahadra Adare flame while spinning slowly 3 times, first counterclockwise with the bottom magnetic Merkaba, then spinning 3 times clockwise with the top Merkaba while toning the 12 tribes' names. Complete with three rounds of the Shadaya and personal soul songs. And the message from the beloveds is, be alive, be joy, and be free, and enter the ascending evolution.